No, I've got one, weather video, when I comes on, it's got a big button, and you hit, well, I kept banging that button, it wouldn't show up, or my phone.
That's good. I'd be crawling off and my phone went off. Grabbed that and it was minutes later that the siren goes off. Who's a good person that rains so hard that we've been chimneys? Not necessarily. That's guessing, because I went down in the basement, I see right there, and I can see it run down the chimney, and they're all positive. It was a little down. Delaying that to it.
You almost need a roofer.
How you doing, Bruce?
That's not fun.
Seemed like I knew.
Well, it wasn't a big deal, except billboards, non-conforming signs. So I have to put it within the boundaries of the 16 feet there. It's 8 foot tall now.
They built that ramp,
So
I
I
guess.
have to cut the top of the sign off.
Yeah, make it shorter.
Like that one, glorious.
I mean, it'd be nice if I could add a piece to it and put it there, but that would make it non-conforming.
I didn't know Gloria was originally.
Because I can't modify it non-conforming.
All right, everyone, please stand for the pledge.
Oh, yeah.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. The first item was a public hearing, and this public hearing has been postponed until the 9th of September. The reason for this is that, Dave, you want to explain the attorney for the owner of the property has asked for 2 weeks to get their affairs in order, and we've decided to let them have 2 weeks.
That's basically it.
So, there you have it, that's basically it. So we will have a full hearing on this, public hearing on the 9th of September, is that the next one?
Yep.
And so is there anybody that came to talk about that? Okay.
And really, just for the benefit of everyone here, it's not a public hearing in terms of, or like you might think of a planning and zoning hearing or a land use hearing. It's a hearing really that's just between the landowner and Mark as the building commissioner, where the landowner tries to prove to Mark that his building isn't in such bad shape that it should be torn down. So it's a hearing that will happen to occur in public, and that's the gist of it.
Okay, so we'll move on to the second item. Well, actually, yes. We're going to set an annual personal property and real estate tax rate. Trish, do you want to explain this for us?
Sure. Yes, this is regarding the annual tax levy that is applied to your real estate and your personal property. As you all know, those taxes are now collected on your county bill. So the state did not raise our tax ceiling at all this year. So everything is going to remain exactly the same as last year, which is general fund at 0.3625, the parks at 0.0093, and band at 0.0102, for a combined total rate of 0.3820 per $100 as assessed valuation. Now, the assessed valuation overall increased by $380,585, but that sounds like a lot, but it only equates to a revenue increase of $1,453.84 over last year. So you can see on the little memo I gave you, so the total amount that'll generate for the whole city is $157,912.74, broken down by general fund, receiving $149,851.75, the park only $3,844.47, and the band $4,216.52.
Okay. And we're talking about the entire amount being $157,912. So it's not, she mentioned that, It's not 1,500,000, it's 157. Okay, now, we're later.
Yes, thank you. I was gonna say that. Thank you.
Later, we're gonna have to come back to this to have the enact this, so, I suppose public hearing is there, Dave, we should ask if there's anyone that wants to discuss this or have any comments on this.
Did I not hear anything about a rollback on this?
You did
Increased
not.
valuation, okay.
Okay. The next thing on the agenda is the mayor's report, and Chief, would you come forward, please? We have come on over here and get in this, we're probably gonna get a picture for you here. Yeah. This is a resolution honoring the Herman Police Department. It comes from the city of New Haven. And it says, whereas the Herman Police Department has assisted the city of New Haven, Missouri during a major incident involving an assault and firearm, and whereas the Herman Police Department provided personnel to assist during this incident and whenever the police department needs assistance, and whereas the Herman Police Department helped the police department, that means New Haven, resolve this incident to ensure the safety of the community and all officers involved. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of New Haven, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the Mayor and Board of Aldermen join with all citizens of New Haven in expressing our most sincere appreciation for the assistance the Herman Police Department provided to the City of New Haven, Missouri, adopted by the Board of Aldermen and approved on the 12th day of August 2019. There you have it. Congratulations, Chief. And this is a great thing for the city. And we appreciate everything you do for us and that you reach out to others. If you have anything you want to say?
No.
Okay. I have a brief report and then we'll get on to the crux of the business at hand. Herman is home to many various types of industrial businesses. When we include large organizations, we have a significant number of employees. Considering only Herman Hospital, R1 School District, Pretium Packaging, and More Gear, there are over 500 well-paying jobs. This is wonderful until we find out that over 60% of the people they employ do not live in Herman. This means that they may not even be part of the R1 School District, and they don't send their children to the schools here. They don't buy groceries or at the grocery stores or shop here for other things. They don't buy insurance, hardware, gasoline, etc., and other miscellaneous things. It's natural for these employees to take their wages home with them and spend them in the location where they live. It's also convenient. This means that Herman is only getting a fraction of the benefits of having these corporations located here. It is very important for us to try to determine why more people live outside of Herman than reside here. Herman is a great place to live. We have fantastic advantages over other places. It's a bargain for all the amenities that Herman has to offer. I suspect the main reason is the lack of newer, acceptable housing for sale in Herman. Herman has a shortage of acceptable housing, or so I am told, by the R1 School District, the Herman Area District Hospital, HRED, the owner of Herman Hills, and the owner of Herman Off Properties. They all say that we need more housing. So let's also consider one other factor that may or may not be related. According to a local knowledgeable businessman, there are presently 14 guest houses for sale and 2 more are scheduled to go on the market after January 1st. I don't know the exact reason for this, but in most cases you could assume that decreasing pieces, the size of each piece of the pie may be one of them. Currently we have 125 bed and breakfasts and guest houses and hotels with business licenses in Herman. This number has increased by 5 in the last 75 days. In addition to this internal increase in competition, there's a great deal more competition from other nearby cities and towns. The city of Herman has done a great job of increasing the number of people that lodge with us, but while the pie is bigger, with so many new lodging options here and elsewhere, the available piece sizes may be smaller. So I would like to call your attention to the fact that we have 14 lodging properties for sale, and we're short of housing for people. Can't prove that exactly, there's a relationship, I'm not claiming there is. But it would be nice if we could build some new housing, and I'm calling on the builders to try to start some form of a consortium where we could build a small subdivision and see if we can get the new people that are moving in to the R1 school district, teachers and administrators and so on, the hospital, and these other businesses to take advantage of our city and settle here, have their kids in school here, buy things here, and just become part of a younger group of Herman citizens. A couple of other things. We will have, and this I'm switching gears now, we will have a flyover by the United States Air Force on November 10th at the dedication of the Veterans Memorial. I see we have one person that's here, and the flyover has been approved. It'll be a B-2 stealth bomber and 2 F-15 fighter escorts. It'll be at 2 o'clock, as I was told that was the time to have them. So 1400 be here, because you won't want to miss it. And so that's happening. Last time we had a grant presentation from MOPEP, our electric supplier. It was at the direction of Duncan Kinchlow, the CEO, and Ewell Lawson, the vice president, came. And we received a check for $100,229 to help improve the infrastructure of the electric department. And I assume that check's been deposited?
Yes, sir.
I thought it would be probably by 10 o'clock the next day. But, so we want to officially thank them for that, and we'll make sure that that money is put to good use. We have a SEMA grant application, and I know there was a meeting last Friday, which I couldn't attend. Saturday, which I couldn't attend. And I'm wondering if you would like to report anything?
Sure. Met with SEMA and FEMA, and we went around and looked at the amphitheater, a couple of streets, the airport, the riverfront, and I think we've met the threshold to have Gasconade County declared a disaster. So I have some more documentation to get to them and a few photos, and they will be getting back with us to make sure that they have everything. We've given them everything, and I think we'll get that grant disaster loan.
Good, because the state and the federal government needs to understand that when we're underwater for 6 or 8 weeks at a time, it puts a lot of hardships on the people that live here. It puts hardships on the city, the businesses. We didn't have Amtrak service. The RV park was closed. We had to cancel some events. And while we won't be reimbursed for the lost income, at least the fact that the amphitheater was underwater for 6 or 7 weeks or more, and the park downtown, the riverfront park, was underwater and a lot of damage down there. The electrical equipment and so on is all fried because it was underwater for so long. And so hopefully we can at least get that back, and it'll be a significant amount of money. So my hats off to Mark, who handled it and did the legwork on it, and was able to do this when other people said it couldn't be done. So we did do that. The airport grant, I'm going to ask Mark again. We had visitors from, I guess it was SEMA or MOPEP, not MOPEP, but MODOT, that came in and looked at the airport, and this was for the flood of 2017, I think. You want to kind of report on that one?
Yeah, we wrapped up that flood from 2017. That was a lady from SEMA. Just wanted to take a look at the facility and took a couple of pictures and looked at my paperwork, and they're closing that event out, so that's all wrapped up. But it seems like we have one every other year anyway, so just keep moving ahead.
And we had a claim on that one too.
Yes.
And that's a fairly substantial claim at the airport.
Yes.
So I have never announced that because we don't have any paperwork on it. Do we have it now?
We had to wait for the flood to get down so we could go assess the damage. We couldn't get there for 6 weeks. So the new flood, the most recent flood, I was out there Saturday with FEMA again, and looked at everything, and probably gonna have to jump through a few hoops, go through our insurance first, get denied that claim probably, and then go through MoDOT Aviation, see if they have any money, and then FEMA will kick in.
What about the apron?
That's a
for
grant,
that?
that's a MoDOT Aviation grant that will kick off in the spring. I met with the MoDOT Aviation and the engineering firm that we selected about 3 weeks ago. And it's going to be a little bit more than we thought, I think, but I think there's enough money that we can meet our share of
Okay.
10%.
When will we be able to announce that? Don't know. The reason we haven't announced that grant is because we don't have a letter, of an award letter. And they're not forthcoming with an award letter, although they told us it was approved, and they said hire an engineering firm and so forth. So rather than, we're gonna get it, I don't wanna announce the amount because I'm not positive what it's gonna be. Okay, last thing I have are a couple of speed limit, MoDOT, speed limit, requests. We requested a speed limit reduction on 19 South as you're traveling north into Herman, down the hill from the Rotten Gun Club and that roadside park up there. And they said no, we didn't need to do that, even though there's 56 houses that empty onto that street and a whole lot of people at the senior center that come out in and out of there. They are going to move the reduced speed ahead signs and back them up the hill to maybe give us a little relief where people will know the speed reduction is lower. I think that there are some people in Seatow, for instance, that are not satisfied with this and are considering a petition or something else to the state to see if they can get more attention to this because they feel it's dangerous. There's no way a truck can come down there at 55 and stop when he comes around the corner in time to not hit somebody that's coming out of the senior center or Seatow. It seems dangerous to me. So we'll see how that develops. We also may want to take some action here in the form of a resolution, something like that. The other one is on 100 West, coming into Herman, out by Victoria Place, is it? And basically, there's this little crest of a hill there that you come over, and then you see the shopping center, and there's a entrance and exit into the shopping center. There's two of them. It's the first one that's the problem because if you come over there going the speed limit, it may be very difficult to stop if somebody pulls out in front of you.
Well, what was their answer to that?
No.
Well, what's the magic number? How many
The-
people have to die
the
before they
answer-
get off their dead butts and do
The
something?
answer was, even though there's been a fatality, we don't think it needs speed limit reduction at this time. So, like I said, we may want to start with a resolution that the board comes up with, and maybe send that to Aaron Griesheimer and our state senator, and see if we can get something done. But
Well, let's start on it. That's
it is.
ridiculous.
I feel it's dangerous. Okay, and we will start on that tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, that's what I have, and I know I took a little thunder, but you did some of yours already. So, Mark.
Yeah, just a couple of things. The bids came in for the hospital clinic demolition. FEMA's going to evaluate those bids and let us know if everything is in order. And once that is determined, the city will review and make a recommendation. Also, the engineering grant for our water system, submitted all the paperwork for that. We hope to hear from Department of Natural Resources and Bartlett and West, the engineers, on the next steps. And Friday morning, just put a little shout out to the city water crew. With the help of the street department, repaired a water leak on Market Street. I want to thank the guys for a job well done and some great teamwork getting the leak repaired quickly and safely.
Well, they did a great job on that. And Mark did a very wise thing on that too. I don't want him to think I'm picking on him with nice things here, but he had 2 or 3 people that, well, most of those people had never seen a lead pipe. They had never repaired one. And it's an opportunity for them to learn. So he had 2 or 3 extra people there that could, and he put on a training session for them in situ right there. So they could see how it was done and how to do it. So I think it's easier to see something and do it than it is to read about it. So that was a good thing. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to ordinance 2157, Dave, and we need to read it twice.
Bill number 2019-33 would be an ordinance setting the 2018 annual rates of levy for ad valorem taxes for general municipal purposes, establishment and maintenance of free public parks, and municipal band purposes.
I apologize, I just saw and you just read 2018. I corrected the original to 19, but I apologize, you still have 18 in your binder.
I move bill number 2019-33 first read.
I'll second.
We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's carried. Can we read that again?
Bill number 2019-33, an ordinance setting the 2019 annual rates of levy for ad valorem taxes for general municipal purposes, establishment and maintenance of free public parks, and municipal band purposes.
Do I have a motion to declare it second read?
I move bill number 2019-33 be declared second read.
I'll second.
We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Okay, we have a bill number, oh, go ahead, Dave.
Next is bill number 2019-34, an ordinance to establish certain one-way streets.
Is there discussion of this?
I mean, everybody here understands what the key's done.
Well, we're declaring 4th Street, we want to make it one way?
Mozart Street.
Well, Mozart I know about, but is 4th Street included in this?
We want 4th Street from Market to Mozart for westbound traffic during school hours.
Okay.
Be one way, and then also Mozart Street from 4th Street northbound to 3rd Street.
Okay, so what about days where there is no school because of teacher's holiday, or we're not gonna?
If the kids aren't there, it won't be. The school's not in session, it won't be a one-way street.
Okay,
It says in there, it says, when St. George Elementary School is in session.
okay,
And then Mozart would be permanently one.
And Mozart would be permanently one-way, downhill.
okay, and how would people know coming up there that St. George is in session?
Well,
More
the,
signs.
the school said they were going to get signs.
Oh, they're gonna put signs up?
Like,
We're.
I just asked.
well, like the elementary school does out here.
Okay, so
So I'm
they're,
pretty sure that's what Karen said.
okay,
Right.
Just-
Market? Starting at Market?
Yeah. From, no, not on Market Street. From Market to 4th.
so they'd
No,
have
I'm
one
just
down
saying
near
they're talking about
Market.
the sign now.
Yeah.
Because people are gonna wanna turn either at the top or the
Yeah.
bottom, depending.
Yeah, they said they were going to have the same kind of signs at Herman.
They already had a horse set up on top of the hill. I took some bottles up there for recycle, and they had a horse blocking one complete lane with an arrow making you go down Mozart, but that was on Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, if they're gonna do it, and they're gonna do it that way, they need to learn how to take the signs down when the school is not open.
Well, it's a learning experience for them.
I had mixed emotions about this. The school's been there for how many years, and they've never had a problem. Now it's a problem, you know.
Well, the world changes.
Yeah, the world changes, but anyway, so they're gonna have to be, they're gonna have to be
They
educated.
approached us with the,
They're gonna have to be educated to stay on top of the signs
Yes,
for the people that
absolutely.
don't know. I mean, you have a lot of out-of-town people, there's a lot of guest houses up on that hill and everything else, and they're not gonna, you know, we're gonna have another police officer sit there and monitor that too.
I think it'll be okay because it's just westbound. So anybody on top,
Go up the hill.
yeah, won't go down it. And there'll be signage up there that we're going to put too.
Yeah, that's what I said.
As long as they put the signs out, I think it should be fairly straightforward, but it's on them to do that. I don't think, you know,
The city's putting up the same signs they have at the elementary school, one way during school hours, 7 to 3:30. Also, the Mozart end will be up at 4th and Mozart going Well, there'll be a, I can't remember what Todd is buying. He's got the signs all bought. As soon as this is signed and sealed, we'll get the signs installed.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion of this? Do I have a motion to accept this? Oh, just, come on,
I guess my question would be, well,
we can't see you.
I'm sorry.
You blend. John was blocking you.
Yeah. I guess my first question is, I don't understand how the city can be obligated to a private thing to control traffic. That seems to be something that the city shouldn't be allowed, because if, say for instance, they did or didn't do their job one time and somebody, then who's responsible? Is it the church? Is it the city? You know, it doesn't make sense. It seems like the city should be regulating the traffic flow and not the church or the school. So I don't have a problem with making it a one-way permanently.
So your argument really is who puts the signs up, and
Exactly.
you think the city should be in charge of that and not the private entity, the school?
Well, I would think that, you know, if something were to happen, you'd have to find out, you know, who's responsible, and I would think the city's responsible for the streets, not the school.
Well, this has worked well at Harvard.
It doesn't matter if it's worked or not, I'm just saying, who's gonna be responsible for that? Now, right now, you're saying that the school can do it, but even in that case, I don't know if that's a good idea or not, to have a private group controlling the traffic flow.
But didn't you say, Mark, that the city has signs they're going to put up?
Yes.
Well, they could, but I'm just bringing up the point that who's responsible? And should it not be just the city responsible and not?
Well, you're talking about one sign that says one way, a movable sign that they move out in the street and take down. I mean, that's,
Plus, the city will have their signage.
yeah, well, city signage will all be there. City signage will be permanent.
Which says, if indeed they're open today, it'll be closed for
It
traffic.
says during
Just like the
school.
ones on 7th Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're-
I
they're
understand
very-
that.
They're very clearly labeled.
That's fine, I just wanted to make sure that, it seems to me that the city should be responsible for
Is-
city streets.
Is this the same as we have on 7th Street?
Yes.
Yes.
So the signs are the same?
Yes, exactly.
If people figure that out, they ought to figure this out.
And St.
Do they
George
put
has a
those
lot
out
of-
every day?
No, they're on permanent standards.
So you're saying that the school's not gonna put out signs?
They put up a temporary one on the street that says children, it's closed for
Okay.
children or whatever.
It's just, wanted to bring it up.
I think some of
Okay.
this stemmed because St. George has preschool now, so they have little bitty kids there that they didn't have before. So that is a little more dangerous.
Well, I would be in favor of permanently making it a one-way street.
Well, it's worked very well just during school, for
Okay.
like 8th Street during school hours, so
Okay.
it's worked very well.
It's up to you guys.
Thank you, Tom. That was Tom Durham.
Ex-Alderman.
Ex-Alderman Tom Durham. Thanks, Tom. Is there any other discussion? Do we have a motion?
I move that bill number 2019-34 be read.
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Want to do that again?
Yes.
Because the school
They
is in
want to get
session.
signs.
Oh, okay, please read that one
Bill number 2019-34, an ordinance to establish certain one-way streets.
I move bill 2019-34 second read.
Now second.
again. Okay, we have a motion made and seconded on this side. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Mark, are you going to tell St. George the case?
Sure. Yep. I'll go see. Or
I'll phone him, so. Okay,
on vacation. I'll figure it out.
well, we can do that, we can handle that.
I'll tell Todd.
Tell Todd, and you can do it like Todd. Okay, the next one.
Bill number 2019-35, an ordinance to establish sign regulations.
Okay, now, I'm gonna say a little something here, because this has gone on for a long time, it's been before everybody. We've had it a couple times, it's had open hearings here, Dolores is planning and zoning. commission has had it, they've discussed it, worked on it very well. This thing was started by sign people, it was developed by sign, people in the sign business. We have two to three here. Another person from, I think it was Washington, was involved in it. We had it back to this group the second or third time. We sent it to Jefferson City so that they could look at it from a historic point of view, a historic preservation point of view. It came back, it went to Landmarks Commission to incorporate any concerns they had, and that was put in here. We now have it, it has an index. The index will be made, there will be an index when it comes out, if it's passed, as an ordinance, so people can look and find exactly what they need, what they're interested in. It's 29 pages. New Haven's is 28 pages. They're long. It's not, it's a handbook. It's like a phone book. The phone book is however long it needs to have all the names in it. This is how long it needs to have all the types of signs in it. And as long as you're not going to start at the beginning and read through to find it, you're going to use the index. So I don't think the length of it really has much bearing on it. I've said my spiel here. I think this is a good ordinance in my opinion. I've read through it many times. I've put the index together. Is there any discussion up here? I know we have a couple of people that might want to talk about it down there. Bruce?
I just have a couple of questions that I don't understand. The principal ground signs, it says out parcels and shopping centers shall not be allowed to have principal ground signs. Why wouldn't we allow a shopping center to have a sign out by the street? That one don't make sense to me. You know, I mean, I've gone through this about 3 or 4 times, and I'm thinking.
Well, it's been 8 years. Everybody's gone
I
through it a bunch of
understand,
times.
but
The purpose was so that you wouldn't have several signs, you would have a marquee for a shopping center, like they do have out here,
Bavarian Hills.
right here in Hills, yeah, so it would indicate all of them.
So you don't
Not
want to
just
have,
one, you wouldn't have a dozen. if you
you're
have a
saying
dozen.
don't put 12 signs out there if there's 12 businesses.
Right,
Put one big marquee that looks nice and has them all on it.
exactly.
Well, you see that in shopping centers in the cities too, they have one big sign with all
And
the
that's
names.
why they had that.
Okay, my next question is under flags and flagpoles. Throughout our town, different businesses, we all have open flags that we hang out. This is talking more about conventional flags, the American flag and so forth. Are those still gonna be legal? I mean, I don't see in here where it says they are or are not. So, I mean, you know, if existing, it's okay, but we take them down every day, so it's existing today, but it's not tomorrow, you know? I mean, how nitpicking are you gonna be on stuff? I mean,
Your open flags designate the business is open, if it's not there, it's probably closed. It's not a sign for the business per se. So, and it's temporary.
And it isn't regulated. Is
No.
it required?
Well,
Does not.
we do have a line in here that says no flag on a lot may bear a commercial message.
Well, there you go, same thing.
So
Is open
I'm a
or
little
closed
uncomfortable
or-
with content-based regulations in the first place, and this is probably the most glaring one. I don't think that we can stop a business owner from putting a flag out that says open.
well, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think we can stop
No,
a
and that's
business
not-
owner from putting a flag out with a snake on it that says don't tread on me.
I don't think that's what this says. But if that's an issue, that's why we're having this discussion.
Well,
And
I'm
we need
just
to
bringing
take
that
that
up.
off.
I didn't see anything
That's
in
a good
here that
question.
was specific to that, and if you drive around town, they're all over the place.
Well, I don't know why
Okay,
you'd
if a
wanna-
new business comes in, are they gonna be able to put their open sign up? Because it,
I
you
don't
know,
know why you wouldn't want them for a business to be able to put that out.
Yeah. And it, for my purposes, my edification, does this mean, does the sign ordinance say you can't have it open? It doesn't say that. So,
That part.
That was a good point.
okay. All right, anybody else? Tom, I thought you might come up and we've kind of used your expertise.
Well, if there's,
Bruce, do you have any more?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Bruce has more.
Under prohibited signs and devices, pennants and wind-blown devices. Okay, is that just commercial or is that in private yards? If you need to talk to my wife about them, she's got them all over the place.
You mean
Whirligig?
pin wheels and stuff?
I mean, you know, how
I don't think
specific?
those are signs though.
those are whirligig things, they're not signs.
Pennants and wind-blown devices. Doesn't say signs, wind-blown devices. I know, I'm nitpicking, I understand, but if you're gonna do this,
It does say that.
you know, I'm just little things, but you know, somebody's gonna complain down the road when they get a ticket because they got a little helicopter in their yard.
Okay, are you for wind-blown devices being considered signs? If you want, what do you want us to do?
Well, I don't know, I'm just asking a question, because I know my wife's got them in my yard.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have, yard art that's wind-blown and movable, but it's not a sign. I think that's the point.
It says prohibited signs and devices, it doesn't say signs, it says devices. And- Or maybe an explanation of in commercials, maybe not private.
Do we define signs?
I think Bruce has a point. If we don't mean to regulate those whirly things or whatever in yards, we should delete wind-blown devices.
I'm just saying, it's
Or
a
can we
mute.
just say businesses in the business district or something?
Well, no, I think if.
His house and his business are right next to each other, where do you draw the line?
Well, I
I'm
think you
really
just take them out.
struggling.
I ain't tackling Bobby.
If it's gonna create a problem, then take it out.
Well, I'm
It's not gonna diminish the value of this at all, so.
I'm just throwing
take it
out
out.
things that, you know.
Dave, you got
Yeah.
one? Okay, we got it.
I have one more
Okay.
that is probably not a biggie, but, you know, everybody has their garage sales and that, and then here it says you can't put any signs on utility poles. You know, I think it should be where if you're having a one-day sale or something, they can put a sign up, but they have to take it down that night or the next day or be fined.
And take the nail back out of the hole.
You know, I think, you know, because if, and a lot of people have an annual yard sale or whatever, they're private individuals, they are not businesses, but, you know, that little sign helps people find it.
They're allowed to have those too. I mean, I think
But
the
they
state,
have to be responsible enough to take the darn thing down the next morning or that
Okay.
evening. I mean, that's just another suggestion, you know. And I'll shut up.
okay. Tom, you have anything else to add? Or?
To that,
No, just. I mean,
Okay.
at this point,
Yeah, sure.
let me explain. We can accept this and vote on it with those changes. And then they'll be made next time, because we're not gonna vote on it twice. And next time, we'll have those changes made, and that would be the one that we would accept. But I don't hear anything here that says the whole thing is bad. I think the whole thing is good, and, but you guys are gonna have to decide on it. As a sign maker and a person that actually worked on this, the two of you, Kathy and Tom Durham, and I think we have, the Hagedorns here, who also were instrumental from the very beginning of this, and, they have a lot of blood and sweat equity in this thing, and, it's been hanging around forever. I would like, Tom would, or Larry, or would somebody like to say anything? If you don't want to, it's okay. I'm not trying to get you up here.
sure, I'll say something. Well, as the mayor suggested, it's been 8 years, 4 administrations, and not only has it gone through committees, Landmark, Jefferson City, all of these things, and I hate to say it, but shame on anyone who would be opposed to this ordinance that couldn't have spoke up in the last 8 years, okay? We've had public hearings, we've had ample opportunity, all the planning and zoning meetings are open to the public. We've spent probably 20 people have worked on this thing, and probably, I don't know how many, hundreds of hours probably, dedicated just to the sign ordinance. Now, the reason we wanted to do this is to simplify the purpose of getting a sign permit. Right now, you know, I'm in the business, I cannot find very easily information about regulations and restrictions on signs. So this makes it just as easy as can be. We've used it through, or compared to other cities, and it's all comparable. There's nothing, you know, that's crazy or you know, that it can't be done. We've made it so simple. And the reason that it's so complete, and I know probably several people have heard, it's like, you know, the dictionary of signs is like a dictionary, Webster's dictionary. It has, the Webster's dictionary has 2,000 pages, but you want to find out a definition of a word and go, well, it's too many pages, we're going to take out section C, you know, make it shorter. You can't do it. You got to have the whole thing complete. So, you know, and under the purpose of the regulation that you have in front of you, I mean, it's pretty simple and it makes the city up to date. We can live in the past or we can move towards the future. And this has nothing to do with the sign companies in town that are going to benefit. It's actually going to benefit all the consumers by, we've done it so that the sizes are more compatible to the material that we use, and so you actually get a better product for a less amount of money, which means we're not making as much money, okay? So it has nothing to do with our profit gain. It's so that the city can operate, you know, responsibly to all their citizens. If you got any questions, I'll be happy to answer that. But, you know, again, 8 years, 4 administrations, that's shameful.
Don't beat around the bush, Tom, tell us how you.
All right.
Okay.
Any other questions or anything?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Larry, do you want to say anything, or has he already summed up your thoughts?
Yeah, well,
I think it all sounded right to me. I mean, as far as material and things go, it comes in 4x8 sheets, 2x3, you know, and you're not wasting material.
And that's one of the benefits of having sign people develop this ordinance. Because you know, I don't know how big the sheets are or what you do to make one. I'd probably have it wrong. I know I'd have it wrong.
we're kind of just here to answer any questions if anybody's got them.
Okay, well, do we have any other questions up here, and do we have anybody that wants to speak on this back there? Scott, come forward and give us your name.
Are we doing 3 minutes? Tom was within 3
Yes.
minutes. Okay.
My name's Scott McGarr, and I look at it from a freedom of speech or whatnot. And what I mean by this, Section 8 of the Missouri Constitution says that no law shall be passed impairing the freedom of speech no matter what means communicated, whether that's a sign or whatever it happens to be. That being said, your 6 flags, if this meeting was held outside, would violate this ordinance. There's 3 here and 3 up there. If this meeting was held outside, it would violate the ordinance. If you go over to the corner, they put up a very nice display of 5 flags. Looks very nice in Rhineland. I want you to be able to think about how is it going to benefit the citizens of Herman to be able to deny that. And as a constitutional thing, I think it's going to be a hard thing to sell to a jury of your peers that, hey, I put up 2 American flags, a flag with the U.S. Constitution, another MIA flag, and this is just part of the ordinance. The other part is, I don't really want to have a limitation on how large of a sign is. I think the market should decide on the basis of my particular property. Furthermore, you're also looking at it from the aesthetic standpoint. That's the whole point. If signs were so aesthetically displeasing, Mayor, you've got one in your front yard. Bruce, you've got one back that you changed with your antique business, not to mention on some public poles. Dave, you've got your name on your front porch, which is nothing wrong with that. But we start nitpicking and saying, hey, you can't do this and that. You're limiting someone's freedoms. And before we go down that road, I really think you should be able to consider how is it going to benefit. I don't think signs are aesthetically displeasing. They benefit people because they're able to have more businesses. But if we get down to the point where we're going to take away those signs, I think you should first take the ones that you own away because they are aesthetically displeasing by the nature of just what you're saying. Just my thoughts. But there is a reason for being able to have ordinances, but there's a reason to keep our freedoms. And I hope you guys would vote to keep the freedoms.
Thank you, Scott.
One thing. In answer to not having restrictions, right now, almost a year and a half ago, the Board of Aldermen, me included, voted not to have sign restrictions in the historic district because we were waiting to have the sign ordinance enacted. That means at any time, right now, you could put a billboard up in the historic district, any size, and some people would say that's our right to do that. Well, that's why we have restrictions and that's why we have regulations, is so that people can't intrude on other people's lives without, some type of consideration.
I would point out too that most cities, in fact, all the cities that I think we should emulate, I wouldn't say all, but most of them, have sign regulations. So if they're violating the First Amendment rights of people, then everybody's doing it, and I would have thought that we would be hearing this somewhere in the court system. The other thing is, this is a handbook. I'll say that again. And it's for people. It's not so much to find people that are going to violate it and pull them out, give them a ticket, as it is so that people that want a sign can go to a sign maker and say, I'm in the historic district and here's my address. It's R2 residential or it's commercial or whatever. And what kind of signs can I put there? Or what about this? And so they could say, yeah, you could do that, but how about we make it such and such? You get professional help and you get a professional appearing sign, and that's probably better than if Bob designs it. So I think using it as a handbook, that's really the reason for this. It's not to find people where there's a gotcha on this. And so I think that would be how I would answer it. So I don't know if there's, I think that, is there anybody else who wants to get involved with this discussion of civil?
Mr. Police, you're looking at things and making notes over there. What's your opinion on this violating people's rights?
I think that sign regulations can be made legal. As I said a few minutes ago, I think that you have to be careful, and I'm going to reread this myself, with an eye towards, are we making sure we're not restricting content? I believe that size, shapes, colors, how you affix it to the wall, and especially in a historic district and things like that are legal. But you can't tell somebody not to put an I love God sign up or I love the KKK sign up or something like that. And that one note I was just writing here, we have 410-120 says variances for signs, and no provisions may be varied without the exception of the following, 1, 2, 3. Well, I don't think we can legislate away people's right to go to Board of Adjustment and seek a variance for anything if they want to.
And this doesn't do that, right?
Well,
As long as
it
there's
seeks to
something.
limit that. And so I think, as Mayor said, there's lots of towns that have sign restrictions and towns that have 20 or 30 or more than 30 pages of sign restrictions. And generally, they're legal, in my opinion. And I think that this is the work of many people over many years and months, and it's all generally good, but we do need to be careful with some of this, and we'll make sure we are.
So we could then rely on you to take your notes, review this, and next time come up with, if we pass it this time, with those changes, then you would make those changes and we come back again, we reread it, we all discuss it again, make sure Bruce's concerns, Mr. McGarrett's concern, if possible, and anybody else's concerns, if possible, are written into it, and then we have a final. So we actually have this change, we could change it again next time. If you want to go ahead and approve it this way, otherwise we'll have to, well, that's what I would recommend, when we finally get this thing moving. Dolores?
Mayor, I have a question. Has the State Historical Preservation Office been given a copy of this last draft ordinance, and have they approved it?
They didn't approve the last one from my way
The one
I
we have
understand.
right now that you're considering?
No, I'm answering that. And they didn't make any, tell us we needed to change anything. They had concerns, is the way I understand it. And so we addressed their concerns, and I don't know what else it would be. I mean, we could send them a copy. But it's not, we don't need their approval. We just addressed all the concerns they had. Tom and Chuck Hartbauer and Marshall sat down with the documents and made all the changes that were necessary. So I don't think we need to do that. I don't see where, it's just another way of adding 6 more months to it, if we even get it in 6 months back from them. So they never said we should change anything. They just had areas of concern. So anyway, I would like to move on this, knowing that we have a few changes to make. Can I get a motion, or how do you want to proceed?
I have a question. He was discussing the garage sale or yard sale signs. On the number 6 yard or garage sale sign, see, it says such sign shall remain in place only 2 days prior to 1 day following the event. So we cover that.
No, yeah, but that doesn't
No.
cover what I was
No,
discussing.
but then when it says signs are not allowed, could we change that and say, I mean, when you look at B, it says 4 feet square in area per side and 42 inches in height. Does that mean you can put a sign that big on a utility pole? I mean, maybe we need to put that signs can be on those right of way or those signs, but only 8.5 by 11, and it has to be removed in 24 hours, or,
I think we are not going to have signs on utility poles.
but not even yard sale signs, because everybody
Well,
does
Bruce,
that.
I know Bruce said that, but why can't they put it on a stick or a 2x4 and pound it in the ground? Why does it have to be on our
Are they gonna-
utility poles?
A lot of places it's concrete, you can't do that.
Well, all right.
But I mean, it's just a minute little thing.
A lot of places,
I don't care.
I mean, it doesn't matter. It has really no bearing on the validity or the value of this
Right.
at all. So as far as I'm concerned, if you want to let them on there, say they're okay for 2 days before and a day after, that's fine with me.
The concern,
The day of.
the concern when we were discussing yard sale signs was the removal and the trash, and yeah, it's just a great idea that those people are gonna go down and remove those signs, and yet for some reason they don't get done. And so by restricting it, it's not gonna say you're not gonna stop it, but by making that restriction, then it hopefully will curtail, or they'll come up with another creative way of advertising their yard sale. I mean, we're not in the business to promote, enterprise for the weekend, and if they want to come up with their ideas, and actually the size we felt was giving them more than probably they needed, and those signs would be going in the front yard.
Folks, it doesn't matter to me. I just want us to get this, 8 years is long enough. I'd like to move forward. If you want to make the yard signs, they can be put up the day of, and then they have to be taken down, or 2 days ahead, or...
No, I think day of, and then if they don't take them down the next day, you're right in there, they're gonna be fine,
can we do
Put a little teeth into it.
But a lot of yard sales are from Friday through Sunday.
that? Right.
Well, the time of the yard sale. Okay.
And what about these signs that are on utility poles? And signs are not allowed on utility poles.
We're gonna
Are they
take,
gonna
we
off
have
that?
there's a section in here on implementation, I believe, or I don't know what we called it, but, and it talks about, we're gonna take them down and keep them, for 30 days. If people want their signs back, they can come and get their signs. And maybe the sign is good enough that they can use it and they can apply for a permit and put and use the sign. Maybe not, but that's up to them. So that would be taken advantage of. We've had utility folks in here, they don't like signs on their poles. And we have 1 million staples on some of them, and if they slide their leg down one, they tear themselves up because they got 500 staples sticking out there. So I think there's plenty of reasons why we shouldn't have them on our poles. Now, if you want to allow them for yard signs, then I'm sure we could do that if that's what it takes to move this thing forward. And if Bruce wants to do that, then we can do that. And Dave has the notes, so he can put that in there for the next time.
But put down remove signs and fasteners.
Okay?
Some of these telephone poles look like a pissed off porcupine. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't had complaints about people getting hurt just brushing up against them. They're horrible.
Okay, I move that bill number 2019-35 be first read with changes.
With changes. And Dave, could you read the changes to make sure we have them all?
The notes that I wrote down were look at wind-blown devices and look at deleting that term from prohibited signs. I'm gonna look at the one that says no flag may bear a commercial message. I don't think we can say that. I'm gonna take a look at what's in here is 42120, where it says that you can't get a variance for any of the regulations in the sign ordinance. I think I have this right. You're talking about yard signs, like yard sale signs?
Yard sale signs, for the duration of the sale.
Can you put up the day of the sale that they need to be removed the day after is what I think.
Okay, I think Bruce is okay with that. And Alderman Fairburn wants to have some penalty for not removing. So whatever we make it, which I guess is a typical misdemeanor. Okay,
Stated
what else?
in there, violation of any provision of this chapter shall be prosecuted as a misdemeanor.
Then it's already in there.
Yep.
Okay, and what, any other ones?
14.
Nope.
Okay, we have a motion made to accept this sign ordinance with the changes that Dave will put in there, and I need a second for that.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried first read, and we'll talk about it on the 9th, again, with changes. Okay, whew, that only took 8 years.
And thank you all.
And
Just
thank
for the
you.
record, Larry Miskell started the whole idea of drawing up a sign ordinance. We did not.
Okay,
Larry brought it up. He had Marcia and Lee Regal work on it, and we thought that they could use our help but just for work.
well, and as you read it, it's a good ordinance, I think. So we're fortunate that we had 3 groups of professional sign makers involved in this that could use their experience and for our benefit. So thank you.
We really appreciate that, guys.
Okay, the next ordinance. It's a resolution, I suppose. And you want to read it, or you want me to read it? Go ahead.
Sure. Resolution number 1268, a resolution to approve a job description for the position of code enforcement officer.
Okay, before we start on this one, I will say that this has been looked at by, again, this is Susan started this, Dave, it was Dave's idea, Alderman Fairburn. So it was originated, then it was reviewed by, Dave was involved in it, Susan was involved in it, I was involved in it. Melanie, HR and HR was involved in it, and P&Z. Who else? The chief was involved in it. Trish knows about it. She was instrumental in changing it. It's a pretty streamlined job description. It doesn't, its job descriptions are what they are. They're not set in concrete to say, you must do this, you cannot do that. It's changeable. So, and it's flexible enough, I think we can get people to apply. It's it's a part-time job, and it does not conflict with law enforcement, or with code enforcement, or with the planning, or with the landmarks commission. But it coordinates the efforts of all those in an area we just don't have now. Mark tries to do it, and he doesn't have time, and when the street thing kicks in, he's gonna have a lot less time. So, I think it's well written. Everybody had a hand in it, and there I've said my piece. Does anybody want to discuss this?
Can I just say that you kind of at the last minute changed the word code to the word ordinance. So the job description says ordinance enforcement officer,
Right.
and so if we pass this, we'll want those to agree.
Right, it should be enforcement, ordinance enforcement, because we have a code, we have a Lee who does the codes, he investigates and enforces that part of it. I didn't want any confusion. So it is ordinance enforcement. Any further other discussion? Thank you, Trish.
This is only setting the job description.
That's correct. And therefore, it only needs a resolution. So we can vote on that. Do I have a motion to accept it?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is accepted. Okay, any old business?
AT&T tower, we hear anything else on that?
Yeah, well, nothing since I told you that apparently the Cherokee Nation is involved in it. The time frame would tell us on the most optimistic that we would have requests for permits around the 1st of October. I know they can build them pretty fast, but they can't build them overnight. I understand they can do it in a week maybe, once we issue a permit. So we're not gonna have it for Oktoberfest, at least not for all of Oktoberfest. So that's just the way it is. I asked for a temporary tower, and I was told they're called cows. Cell on wheels. Cows. And I was told they have none available, and we would not be getting them. I also told him that I thought it was bad, personally, it was bad business, because a lot of people are gonna come to Herman from other places. We'll have probably, 40, 50,000 maybe, and they're gonna be very disappointed with their AT&T cell phones, that they're not gonna work very well here. And then our people are not gonna be happy that have AT&T cell phones, and some of the merchants that might use them for point-of-sale devices, like Square and those other things, they're gonna be disappointed. But I haven't heard any him come back and say, oh gee, we're gonna move one in tomorrow. So I'll keep asking him, and he'll probably, will say no, but I'm gonna keep after him. You have my promise on that.
Doctor's building demolition.
Yep, I reported on it. We had 2 bids come in, and once FEMA reviews those and finds one is correct and everything's good, then we'll get to review it and recommend it, and let it happen.
Derelict vehicles are on top. Seems like every time we turn around, there's another one sitting in the front yard. No, Jim's got this. Sorry, go ahead, I didn't mean to steal your thought.
Now, Dave and I was on the same line. Of course, one of the things I want to do is beautify Herman, and we've talked to the chief, and he knows the ordinances. It is starting to get out of hand from my standpoint. I've been asked if it's on private property, and yes, the ordinance 385.030 says if you have a vehicle that's it's not licensed, not operable, you're not working on it, and it's a harboring place for rodents and ants and critters, is in violation. So we need to work with the chief to try to get some of these cleaned up. There's one property I can, off the top of my head, there's 7 vehicles on their property. Expired license. I would assume they're not operable.
And it could also be a business there, which without a business license, and in the R1 zone where it's not allowed. So, and there's several places, and I told you I would make a list, I haven't quite gotten to that. So maybe we need to work together and you help me out, because we're working on this other stuff, and I want to be doing that too. Anybody on?
Me.
I know last meeting I brought up, and Dave Polita kind of gave us guidance. We turned in a list of nuisances. I was just wondering if we could get an update on those.
I don't have an update. I don't know, Dave, I'm pretty sure he didn't get prepared.
Right, nuisance in terms of weeds and debris.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily trailer park on 6th Street. There's been some houses where the front porch driveways are just mounted over with antiques or extra product. And then on 9th Street Alley, I seen that the city did do some spraying where there've been snakes and rodents coming out of the hillside into their properties. 9th Street, and of course, September 9th, we'll discuss the old Bevco building.
And I think that, Jim, what we're gonna have and what this ordinance enforcement person will help us with is going around and giving pictures, giving times and dates, and measuring from the property line, and doing things like that, that Marlon needs to have. He needs to have really good detail before he writes the ticket. Well, you know this is good, probably better than anybody that sits up here, that the police officer has to have the details when he writes the citation or whatever. If he doesn't, it creates another problem. So, so I say that to say we need to work on finishing this up and decide, you know, I will get on that and we'll get it done.
I know that trailer parks, I've been back 3 years, and I've had the same answer for 3 years.
Yeah, well, it's been longer than 3 years. It took a long time to get that way. I know he's trying to move all those people out by November 1st. They've all got notices. So I would assume that the junk will have to be taken with him or bulldozed off or whatever he's going to do with it. So I think we have a sort of, I hate to use the term drop dead date, but we have a date certain. Is that what it's called, date certain? That he said as certain as it can be, that he wants possession of that. And so that one we could check with him and get a lot of those answers at one time.
We could provide building spaces for additional housing.
Exactly. And he does intend to do that. So there is some avenue for new construction of homes. We have some other places to build them, but we're gonna need them. We need them, so. Anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, any other old business?
I have a question. Have we gotten anywhere on getting a traffic mirror at the end of 18 and 100?
Yep, I had trouble with their website, the same company we got the other one from. So I'll just call them directly. They sent me an email back saying that, sorry that it didn't work, and to give them a number, give them a call on their 800 number. So I will do that.
Thanks.
Any other old business? Okay, new business. I have 3 things, or I have 2 things, and Jim has one. Do you want me to go first, Jim, or you want to go? Okay.
Be my guest.
I'll start. We have on the agenda a topic of marijuana ordinances. Cities are in, the reason that we're looking into this is so that we can be proactive in limiting the places for sale of marijuana in the event we have somebody that wants to sell marijuana here and that meets the criterion for doing it. Not just anybody can stand on the corner and say, hey, you You know, come on, you can't do that, but, other cities are doing this. I sent Dave one city, Webster Groves, that has listed the, parts of the city where they won't allow this, near schools, hospitals, churches, R1 residential neighborhoods, and so on and so forth. So we're looking at that. That's something that we're gonna have to get involved in, or somebody will take the high ground. I hate, that's kind of a tone, I guess, but, they will take the desirable places that where, even though we don't want them, we haven't proactively excluded those. So we're gonna have to start on this, and there's plenty of examples.
Well, I would think it would have to be a commercial zone, not within 1,000 feet of a school, a daycare, or a church, or something like that.
That's pretty much what Webster
Yeah.
Groves has. And I suspect that that's the way the Missouri Municipal League suggests. So we have a lot of ammunition. We're just getting started. I put it on there so you'll see more of that coming down the road. So there will be something proactively done on that. The other one is similar to the mirror at 18th and 100, but it basically says this building, this building is in the wrong place. And I know it's a rental property, and it's empty now, there's nobody in it, but there are bushes around it that actually make things worse. And I wish that the building wasn't there. I'm not saying somebody should do anything to it, we're not saying that. But it is very dangerous, and it's only a matter of time before there's a serious, maybe fatal accident there. I go down that way, most people don't, but I do. And it rarely does 2 weeks go by where I don't have a deer.
Are you talking about the house here at the bottom of the hill?
Yes,
Well, the problem is that house predated the highway. They
exactly,
built the highway around the house.
exactly. So I don't know, we have very many options. I don't know if it would be for sale. I don't know what to do about it. I just put it on here. I think the mirror is our best option at this time.
Mirrors were talked about 50 years ago.
Right.
What
This
about
is-
seeing if they could trim the bushes back?
Well, they took that one off. That main one that was on the highway side of the building is gone. It's down to the stump. I don't know if the highway department did that or who. They trimmed it a few times and that did nothing, but it's gone.
Well, it was really impeding your view, looking, I guess that's westbound, southwestbound. You couldn't see, and it makes it very difficult. So that's my two things. I just brought them up for discussion. And Jim, you have another thing.
Yeah, I've been thinking about some things, you know, we've been challenged to come up with some money savings from general funds. And a few people brought it up to me, so here we are. I believe and it deals with moving money from general revenue to a tourism tax. What we're looking at is where we can take the compensation of our tourism director from the general fund to the tourism tax fund. My understanding was back in 2004, 2005, when the tourism tax went into effect, once it got stabilized, the intent was to, yes, use the tourism tax money to help compensate the tourism director. So 15 years later, Tammy's done a fantastic job. It's flourishing, it's growing. It's nothing to do with what her compensation is, but it's how we can move money from the general fund into a self-supporting fund of tourism tax.
I think that was, from my understanding of talking with Dwayne Crackley, that was agreed upon by the president of the Chamber of Commerce back when it was enacted.
I think it was Phyllis Hanna at that time.
That's the name, I didn't recall. Phyllis Hanna. But the problem then was there wasn't any money in the tourism fund because it was just starting. So to get it started, I believe that a couple of the banks and took a third of it, the chamber took a third of it, the city took a third of it, and so we paid it that way. I think the banks eventually dropped out, the chamber couldn't take half, so we took I think they ended up with 20% or 25%, and the city had the balance. And then in my predecessor's term, he decided he'd rather pay all of it and take control of all of it. And that's what happened. So that's a little history of it. I think we have a surplus in that account, and I don't know. I'm not, does anybody else want to discuss this?
Well, I've actually looked at this for the entire time I've been on Alderman. And, you hate to punish someone who's doing a good job, but Tammy has done an exceptional job with this. Everything is working the way it's supposed to. The reason I never really jumped on it before was, you don't screw with something that's working, but it's worked so well that I've always thought that was actually a very good use of some of the city tax dollars because of the return it brought in, and it brought in a good return. But now it is to the point where it is self-sufficient. The money is there, and I think we ought to start working that in,
Okay.
that salary into that fund.
And that's what we do with some of the other taxes, where the transportation tax, and you guys can correct me because I'm a newbie, but I believe the transportation tax actually helps fund the street department.
It gets
Wages
for
and
the street
compensation.
department, I believe.
And the park,
Transportation tax?
the park tax,
Yes,
Helps
there's
us in
half the
part.
salaries.
so a tourism tax, why not help us?
The precedent is there.
Uh,
Bob, I think when it was set up, and I could be wrong, but that, we're talking about the bed tax, right?
Right.
And that bed tax was earmarked only for marketing and nothing else. And that eliminated that use of, you know,
It says for any tourism-related expenses.
it doesn't say marketing.
Well, that's what the statute says, but are you saying that this group just said marketing, or you thought that's what?
No, he thinks that's what
I thought, I was always under the impression that it was marketing only, tourist-related marketing, not, and it could not go towards salary.
That's not true, because this discussion has come up every year since I've been here, and
Right.
we've looked into it. It's tourism-related expenses.
Everything I've read in it says it's,
Okay.
should be used for.
Well, and if that's fine, and if that's what you want to do, but the more it's being marketed, that means we've had more success, obviously. And if you cut that in half, or 1/3 probably is what you're looking at, that's going to decrease your marketing and decrease your sales of the city.
And I think what you have to do is if this is a decision we're gonna go with, is you do a gradual thing, you don't do the whole thing at one time.
Well-
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's what Dave was getting at was.
Should be phased in.
Phase it in. So, because it's a large budget now. When I started as mayor, it was about 120 to 130,000 a year. Now it's what, 180 something thousand that will come into that fund. So it's gone up 50%. And that's good. We want that. That's a good thing. But I don't think we should, and it's not up to me, but I think Dave is saying that maybe we should phase it in, take a third of it, a third of it, a third of it, or something, a fourth for 4 times, or something like that. And it was strongly recommended during the street crusade that we had, that there was money that we could save in the general fund. And we should really seek it out and take a hard line. And I think that's what the 2 aldermen over here do. They're saying, well, okay, there's money to be saved. It's certainly for the betterment of tourism. You can probably find where I said I wasn't for it, so I'll just admit that. I've always been supportive of taking the money from the city as a city's contribution, but I think there's money out there now in carryover. What was it, Dave?
95,000.
It was 95,000 carryover. So it may be time to help the people of Herman a little bit.
Tricia, is that correct? I want to say I made a false statement. I thought that was.
84,734.
Okay, 84. Oh, sorry.
85,000. But anyway, that's the talk. So You
You
don't
know,
have,
that 84,000 was already spent for a more expanded marketing program that would bring more dollars in. And is it right to say for savings sake, or are there specific things that that money will go to?
well, it was pointed out that we could use some of that money for streets. We need a new equipment shed. We're gonna have to buy 2 pieces of equipment for the city. There's plenty of places to use it that helps the city. And the city people, they pay the taxes, I think, their point, and Bruce's and everybody's is, they're paying the taxes, and it's going for tourism, and tourism has plenty of money now to pay.
That's all collected by lodging, correct? That doesn't have anything to do with the citizens.
The money's coming out of the general fund, and that's
Well,
the taxpayers' money, and that pays for the director's salary.
Right now, the citizens of this town are paying the tourism director's salary.
Right, as they are paying everyone else's salary
That's
for the
correct.
benefit of the city, and you get a return from them. I mean, you can get a monetary return out of tourism versus a monetary return from the street department, okay? Even though both of them are essential, I'm just saying that if you decide to cut your street department for savings, that's what you're gonna be doing with marketing on tourism.
I don't think it's for savings.
It sounds like it.
No, we've been challenged to find money to use for projects like streets in the general fund. And we still have expenses in the general fund that we are not able to meet every year. We have equipment we need to buy so we can take care of the city. And the people pay taxes for that. I think the only argument that I always made in the past was, it's our way of saying thank you to the tourism folks that are actually involved in it. And I think that there's, that the gauntlet has been thrown down, and I'm not so sure that which way to go on it, but this is a good first step to discuss it. We need to discuss it. And I hear your point, that this may return even more money if we leave it in there. That's why it's always been in there, because we felt we did make more money for tourism, for the lodging people. And so, I've always been against it. But if people are going to challenge us to come up with some money to be saved from general fund, this is certainly one thing. We're going to look at the dispatch and so forth, but I think this is a legitimate discussion topic.
Then I'm sure you're going to discuss the tourist director's budget in this whole thing, because she's gonna have to cut her budget down. And then if you're gonna take her salary out, then she's gonna have less budget, and so she's gonna have less marketing.
But I
Which
think,
means
Tom,
that-
what Dave's saying is, she's not spending it all anyway. We carried over 85,000 unspent. And that's what he's saying, and that's what Jim's saying, and Bruce and so forth. And I'm just saying,
I
it's a,
didn't say that.
okay, Bruce.
You
Bruce
said you don't
saying-
want to bite the hand that feeds you, though. And she may very well have plans for that money.
Yeah, that
We don't know.
85,000 could have been planned for the next fiscal year.
Well, this is a discussion, we're not making a decision here.
I'm the numbers girl, so I'll just slightly give you the numbers. Now, I was just talking with Tammy today. Now, next meeting, she's going to come and ask you to expand her contract with the web people for 6 more months. That's going to be $20,000 to $30,000. That's not in this budget. But separate from that, they were going to end the year with $94,000 in the black. Then deduct the
Okay, I
$30,000
thought that was the
maybe
number I'd heard.
that they would need.
So that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
And I think it's just a discussion points at this time, but there's reasonable discussion on both sides of this.
Well, I kind of looked at it too, and I think Tammy's the same type of person. To me, it correlates. For 35 years, I worked on a commission selling products. The more I sold, the more I made. I think Tammy looks at that same idea. The more she can get people to come into town through marketing, whatever, there's more money for her to spend. So, and that's what she's been very smartly handling the money, and she's built up where she's getting what she wants, but she's got a little bit left over for that rainy day. And that's what we can expand on, and she's gonna dig deeper now and get a little bit more than what she'd got before.
I think that we've had a surplus practically every year, because we budgeted for next year what we collected this year. And we ended up always collecting more because we had to do the budget in April and May. The years wasn't over until June 30th, and we had some good months of it. Now, anyway, that's the theory of it, and that's the discussion tonight. And we can, is there anything else, or do we want to move on?
It just frees up some excess money we have that we can go buy some new equipment with.
Yeah, and also, I would say one pressing need is to start saving some money to replace our sheds for our public works, because those are underwater every other year now. And they're,
Falling apart.
and we have to move things around town to keep them above water, so. Anyway, okay.
So is this just discussion then?
Yeah. Okay, so.
Come up with some ideas, you know, it's.
Right. We'll bring it back and talk about it some more. Okay, do we have any citizen comments? Okay, we have no citizen comments. We have some motions to take care of, so please, let's get to that. What about the minutes?
Move to approve.
I second.
We have a motion made to approve the minutes and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Invoices for payment.
Motion paid up.
I'll second.
We have a motion made by Bruce to pay the bills and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. We have a motion to approve electric pole bid from Arkansas Electric Cooperatives Incorporated for $10,250.
I move to go with the recommendation of our electric foreman.
Second. Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. We have a motion to reappoint Jeff Ansel to a 3-year term on the Arts Council.
Jeff, did you say Jim?
I said Jeff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said
Jeff.
I'll make a motion with her.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We missed,
Purge records.
First records?
Mhm.
Where's that?
D.
It's
Oh,
in.
I saw minutes twice. Motion to record in the minutes the purging of records, VHS tapes of Board of Aldermen meetings, 2009 to 2011.
There's some here that are 2006, that's,
oh, forgive me, that was probably supposed to be a 6.
It's supposed to be a
2006 to
6?
2011.
2006.
That's probably a typo.
So it's 2006 to 2011.
I'll make a motion to approve 2006 to 2011.
No, I'll second it.
We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's motion is carried, or yes. Do we have a motion for special event application, River City Cruisers Cookout at Riverfront Park on September 7th and Car Show at Lower City Park on September 8th, 2019.
Move to approve.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Special event application, Witches and Wine event, closure of 4th and Schiller Street. See application for music, vendors, and open containers within street closure event area. October 17, 2019, 3 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. for cleanup.
So I don't get a spell cast on me, I move to approve.
Now, Chief, do you have any issues with that?
No.
Okay. We have a motion made to approve it, sans spell casting.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. That's all we have for tonight. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're going
Yeah, it
on.
might take me a couple extra minutes to get things turned off.
that your only question you had?
I'll be back.
Well, no.
Oh, we
We
did.
wanted to know
How do you want to file?
Back when I brought this up the first time,